Hello, friends, and welcome to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. In this podcast, we introduce you to powerful women who are changing the game in and outside of their field of play. These are women's stories, women who happen to be doing things that many of us can only dream of, but the lessons and inspiration they share is universal. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. We're bringing you a special edition of the Powerful Podcast because there's something going on that we need to talk about. Right now, Nordic combined is the only sport in the 2026 Milan-Cortina Games that does not have a women's division. They have gone through the qualification process. They have their World Cups. They're doing everything they possibly can, but they fell short for this Games. Annika Malacinski has competed in this sport alongside her brother for years. He's at the Olympics and she's not. So on this podcast, we break down why that is and what you can do to make sure that Women's Nordic Combined has a spot in the 2030 Games. Annika is a weapon. She is a fighter, and we need to come alongside her. I hope you enjoy this episode. So welcome back to the Powerful Podcast. I'm so excited to welcome Annika Malacinski on. She is in a fight right now, y'all, to make sure that her sport of Women's Nordic Combined has a spot in the 2030 Games. Annika, we're going to talk about so many things, including how people can help make sure they see Women's Nordic Combined in 2030. But I want to start out, you're from Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Nordic Combined is this really cool sport that combines two different sports. So tell us a little bit about your sport and how you fell in love with it.
Yeah, Nordic Combined, well, I guess I'm a little bit biased, but I honestly would say it's one of the most badass sports out there. Because like you said, we do two sports. Like most athletes go their whole life training for that one sport to be able to get to the Olympics and like dedicating everything for that one thing. But what's so interesting about Nordic Combined is like, it's not just the ski jumping we have to train for and specialize. It's like also the skiing. And those two sports are so different that it's like, how do you even balance that? And that's what makes the game so exhilarating.
It's so aerobic, right? Because like cross-country skiing is so freaking hard. If you've watched cross-country skiing at all, you know the physical requirements to be great in that sport. And then you just casually throw in like a touch of adrenaline by hurdling yourself off of a jump as well. What drew you to Nordic Combined?
Yeah, you're so right. Like the adrenaline aspect of this sport is just something that I feel most people don't go their life like ever knowing this feeling. And what's so fun is like I didn't start this sport when I was little, like most people do. You start when you're 6, 7, 8 years old, when you don't have that fear. But I actually was a gymnast, and that was my love. Like I looked up to Simone Biles. Like this was something that I wanted to take all the way to the Olympics. And I had a Hungarian Olympic coach. And I just remember like we had these like little sheets, like we were going to go to the Paris Olympics. And this was like forever ago. But unfortunately, like I had to step away from the sport due to many injuries because, you know, gymnastics is a very, like it's very hard on your body.
Competed in it for a long time. And
there you go.
It is brutal.
Mm-hmm. So like the only reason I was ever able to start ski jumping at 16 was because of my gymnastics background. I had the balance, the like air awareness, the coordination, the flexibility, and everything just like went into being able to jump. And at 16, like that's so old. Like you don't just huck yourself off of a ski jump at that age. But I did. I went off a 40 meter for the first time. My brother inspired me to do it. He's done it since he was 7 years old. I went to go watch a competition. And after that, it was like, yeah, I'm going to try this.
Girl, I always say that if we ever have kids, I would love to start them in gymnastics because you learn so much. You learn body awareness. You learn a lot about like mental strength. You learn a lot about a hand-eye coordination. But dear goodness, do I hope they quit by like age 10, right? Like I really hope that they get out of it. I hope they get out of it and find their love in something else like Nordic Combined where you can tie into that adrenaline because I've been chasing that adrenaline feeling since I quit the sport. And you know, you can find it a lot of places. I'm excited that you found it in Nordic Combined. You mentioned your brother, who I know is getting ready to compete in Milan-Cortina. You're going to go on and root him on. Tell me a little bit about that relationship and how it really fostered not just your love for the sport, but your competitiveness in it. Because I know there's nothing more competitive than competing with a sibling.
Yeah, that's really true. And like growing up, Nicholas and I, like we did every sport under the sun, and it was just like our lifestyle and our way of life. Like we just loved being outside and playing rough and I don't know, just like finding that adrenaline. And so Nicholas found this sport early on and then I found it later, but like you said, it can't be cooler to be doing a sport with your sibling and not just like any sport, but the same sport. So when we travel World Cups or we're at World Championships, we're always traveling together. And that's what's so cool. It's like home away from home. And so you're homesick, but you also have a little piece of like what home feels like. So it's honestly something that I really love to share and then like share the same passions and goals and we work together, we train together. Like it's all there and it's an amazing relationship to have.
You mentioned the World Cup, so let's get into this Olympic qualification situation because that is typically how athletes qualify for the Olympics every 4 years, right? As you guys have a World Cup season year in and year out. Tell me about the strides that women's Nordic combined has made to where you're competing in the same distances, the same heights, all of the things as the men on the World Cup. Give me a little bit of background on how women's Nordic combined has achieved that equality in the World Cup season.
Yeah, so what most don't understand is Nordic Combine has been around since the first ever. Like it is an original, 1924. And the problem is that it's always just been accessible to men and like never women. And I always felt like I was drawn to Nordic Combine because I mean, when I was 1 years old, my mom was actually the massage therapist for the Olympic boys doing Nordic Combine in 2002, Salt Lake City, and I was there tagging along as like a little toddler. And so even like from there to starting at 16, and what's so cool is like, some younger girls they start and then they specialize to ski jumping or skiing because they know that there's no path to Nordic Combined. But right as when I had started, like there had been kind of this like rise of more women wanting to do the sport. And so, yes, like we have only been like really fighting for this for about a decade. But the progress, like it's so hard to try to like tell listeners if they just don't know. But our first World Cup was 2021, I believe, in Ramsau, Austria. And like when you think like, wow, that's not a long time that you've had your first ever World Cup for women. But then when you look at like our competition being the first ever to where we are now, we have a whole entire World Cup circuit. We have World Championships. We have Youth Olympics. Like we have earned all of our spots to be at like the best of the best, basically. And the level is it's so insane. Like you can't be a girl that can ski jump and ski anymore. Like you can't. You have to excel in it. And like the distances that we are ski jumping and how fast we ski our race courses, like it's not easy. And also it's not easy to do two completely different sports and then have to master both of them. So like I would love to invite anybody that's interested in Nordic Combined to like check out one of our World Cups, like just see how insane this level is. And more than anything, like watch the men at the Olympics.
Yeah. So tell me, what is in your sort of as succinctly as you can say it, what is keeping women's Nordic combined out of the Olympics?
The IOC. Like, yeah, I mean, they're the decision makers, unfortunately. And, you know, we ultimately, I believe that we should have been added to 2022. Like, this sport has always been available to men. And when we tried to grow it and like get it going, like, imagine where we would be now if the IOC would have said yes to 2022. We would probably have triple the field. We would have more nations doing it because at the end of the day, like the IOC, they tell us we want to see more growth, more nations, more girls doing it. But like, do they not understand that like they are what's stopping that? Like they are the ones that are stopping the progression of that. Because like I mean, even when we go further, there's girls that have had to quit because their federation doesn't give them money anymore because our sport isn't viewed as Olympic. So they just don't have the funds to be able to do the sport that they love to do. So it's really challenging, but ultimately, like the fate of women's Nordic combined is under the men. Men's Nordic combined is going to go through a whole entire evaluation, basically like looking at profit, how many people are engaged in watching men's Nordic combined, and that sucks because at the end of the day, like the IOC does not see the value what the women bring. Right now, women's Nordic combined is more popular than men's Nordic combined. So like, why is it a full evaluation of the men, but not the women? It just doesn't make any sense.
When did you find out? Because I know from other sports and like trying to, like there's all these other sports that are making their debut at the 2026 games, right? Like women's double luge is making its debut,
Mm.
for example. And they've fought for that. They've had World Cups. They've done all the same things that women's Nordic combined has done. When did you find out that the fight had fallen short for this games? And what did that feel like?
It's like to this day the worst day of my life. Um, because the decision was made after Beijing Olympics. And we had kind of like crossed off everything that the IOC wanted to see from us. Like we were heading into like having whole entire World Cup circuits, World Championships. Like we had everything. We had grown the sport from almost zero. Like we had nations doing it. It's like everything they wanted, we had. And so going into like watching that decision, there was no doubt in my mind that they were not going to add it. And then the shocker was that they just said no and they just moved on. Like it was nothing. And to me, like hearing that was so just horrible. Like to put it in any perspective, I was on an airplane and I just like cried 8 hours straight. Like I really felt like everything was taken away from me. Like the determination, the dedication, like I had put everything in this the same amount as like my brother had. And like because of my gender, it was denied. Or it's just like it wasn't enough and for them or something like this. And so it was a lot of weeks of just trying to like find my way back to loving it, and not loving it because I can be an Olympian, but loving it because like it's a sport that I love to do and I work hard for it and I dream big dreams. Um, and then that's kind of what really lit the fire to be like, this is so unacceptable. And I just don't want to have to feel like that again. And I never want a younger girl to have to feel that.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting how oftentimes at our lowest moment, it's when we find the most clarity about how to move forward. It really is that phoenix
Yeah.
rising from the ashes kind
Yeah.
of example. So in the middle of your rise right now, because we know the fight
Mhm.
is not over, we know that we are fighting for a spot in 2030. Tell us how we can support, yes, the men for the Olympics, but beyond that, you mentioned how popular women's Nordic combined is. And again, you have a World Cup season next year, the year after,
Yeah.
every year between now at 2026 and 2030, you're going to have a World Cup
Mm.
season. How can people prove to the IOC that there is an appetite for this? There is a profit to be made, because we know that as much as we love to talk about the Olympics bringing people together, there's also a lot of money involved. So how do we do this? How do we join you in this fight?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And like, this is what's so important right now. So, if anything, like, just learn what it is. First, like, just watch our sport. Like you said, we have World Cups. So, watch a World Cup. Now going into the Olympics, this will be the ticket whether or not women get to go to 2030, or if even the sport in general is going to be just erased. So, if the IOC doesn't see that people are watching Nordic combined, men's Nordic combined in the Olympics, then they will take it away. So I can't like express enough how important it is for people to tune in, and not just to save the sport, but like get the women to their rightful place. And other than that, like if you want to learn a little bit more, I had a movie come out about me in March. It's called Where She Lands, Annika, and it's on YouTube. And that kind of gives you like the history of Nordic combined, why the women are denied, what the sport is. That's a really cool like where to start. Follow FIS Nordic Combined, follow Nordic Combined USA, follow all the athletes. Like women's Nordic Combined is so cool because of like the community, and we are honestly all each other's best friends. And it's like that kind of sportsmanship you don't see in any other sport. And so just like tune in, and don't do it just because I'm telling you. Like I think you'll learn that this is one of the coolest sports you can watch. And it's like the excitement isn't over when you've watched ski jumping. Like then we have skiing, and then it's whoever crosses the finish line first that wins. So it's like it's double excitement. So honestly, just engaging. And for the Olympics, just all I have to say is watch men's Nordic combined, please, because that will be my ticket.
I love it. When is your next competition? When can we root you on next?
So the next World Cup is going to be after the Olympics in March, and it's going to be in Lahti, Finland, and I believe it's the second weekend of March.
Okay.
And then our last one is going to be in Oslo, and this one's kind of a very historical place. It's on the Big Hill, so it's that's going to be our last final World Cup. So we have two more that people can tune into.
Perfect. And World Championships have already happened for this year, or they're happening at the end?
So World Championships is every 2 years. So last year we competed in Trondheim, Norway, and then next year we're competing in Falun, Sweden.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to watch the two World Cups, and then next year we're going to lock in for the entire World Cup season and the World Championships. Follow you and your teammates everywhere we can find it. And Annika, I just want to shout out the fact that I know this is a hard fight, and I know that sibling rivalry, obviously you're so happy for your brother, but I know that almost makes it harder to be up close to the injustice of it all. And so thank you for fighting for it. Thank you for your courage and speaking out, and shout out to the men of Nordic Combined, because I've seen so many of their posts wishing that you guys were here and calling the IOC out and all of the things. So thank you for the fight. You're not alone. We're in it with you. We're ready to support, and we're just really grateful for you being out there, because you're making a difference for the next generation of women who are trying to find their place in the world. And maybe they also go from gymnastics to Nordic Combined. You know, I think that's one of the coolest things about so many Olympic sports. And we were talking with Keisha Love about it, because she's a bobsledder now for Team USA. But so many of us find our niche by trying out other things first. And there's a girl who is going to find her place in Nordic Combined because of the fight that you're fighting today. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and thank you. That means so much. And that's like one of the biggest reasons that I am doing this. I'm fighting for the younger generation, so they don't have to question whether their dreams matter. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nobody should have to question if their dreams matter. Annika, we are rooting for you. We are with you. We are going to lock in, tune in, all of the things. You guys, if you're listening online, make sure you go to the notes of the page so that we have all of the resources there for pages to follow, info to find, et cetera, et cetera. Lock in on socials with Annika, with The Powerful, with myself at AJ McCord, and we will keep you posted on the schedule. Annika, thanks for being here, and I hope you enjoy the Olympic experience as much as you can, rooting on your brother.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. See you guys later, Pod Squad. Season 4 of The Powerful Podcast is getting you ready for the Winter Games in Milan-Cortina. So look for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you really enjoy this and don't want to miss an episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button.